The stock market roiled and plummeted this morning after Donald Trump publicly issued two ridiculous tariff threats, one against a single company, Apple, and the other against the entire European Union. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, I want to play this clip from Fox News because they're panicking about the state of affairs, and they even attribute the blame directly to Donald Trump. Pay attention to the chyron.
Market is open on a Friday morning, and it's open way to the downside. Right from the get-go, the Dow is off. What is it now? About 492, almost 500 points. And the Dow 30 are dominated by the selling. Most of them are in the red. I just see 4 or 5, maybe 6 in the green. The S&P 500, that's way down, 1.2% lower. And the Nasdaq Composite down 1.6%, 300 points off. I presume that most of big tech is down. It's showing to you. Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Apple, all down.
So yeah, they're not happy with the state of affairs, and as you listen to Stuart Varney talk, if you notice the chyron, it's because of Trump's threats of new tariffs. Let's take a look at this. As James Sawarkey notes, here's the President of the United States telling a private company how it must make its products on pain of seeing a massive government-imposed increase in its input cost. I rarely use the word fascist, but this is unconstitutional fascist nonsense. So here's a threat issued to Apple and its CEO, Tim Cook, in particular. He says, I've long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple that I expect their iPhones that will be sold in the United States of America will be manufactured and built in the United States, not India or any place else. If that is not the case, a tariff of at least 25% must be paid by Apple to the U.S. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, Tim Cook, who, by the way, donated, I think, at least $1 million, either Apple did just as a company or Cook did personally, $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund, is now once again demonstrating in real time that Donald Trump has no loyalty. Donald Trump is transactional, but his loyalty is has an expiration date. So for $1 million, you might buy his good graces for a week or a month, but it will expire unless you bend the knee to a future demand. So no sympathy for Tim Cook or Apple here, but that is bad news for the markets in general and could be bad news, catastrophically bad news for iPhone users, of which I am one. But it's not just the threat against Apple. It's also the threat against the European Union, one of the biggest economic blocs and trading partners that the United States has. So, as Ian Bremmer notes, destroying the economy has re-entered the chat. Trump says the European Union, which was formed for the primary purpose of taking advantage of the United States on trade, has been very difficult to deal with. Their powerful trade barriers, VAT taxes, ridiculous corporate penalties, non-monetary trade barriers, monetary manipulations, unfair and unjustified lawsuits against American companies, and more have led to a trade deficit with the U.S. of more than $250 million a year, a number which is totally unacceptable. Our discussions with them are going nowhere. Therefore, I'm recommending a straight 50% tariff on the European Union starting on June 1st, 2025. There's no tariff if the product is built or manufactured in the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So a couple of things. Number one, there's no evidence that the European Union was formed to screw over the United States. This is an unsubstantiated claim that Trump often makes. That's number one. Number two, trade deficits are not inherently problematic at all. Again, it just means that, you import more than you export from a company. We take in from the European Union more than we sell to the European Union. There's nothing inherently wrong with that whatsoever. Number three, Donald Trump's tariff barrage has nothing to do with trade deficits because he slapped tariffs, punitive tariffs, on allies with whom we have not a trade deficit, but a trade surplus. So clearly that's not the issue. So it's once again demonstrative of this man's absolutely chaotic, ridiculous conceptions of the economy, of global economics as well. I mean, he's a moron using this tariff regime in ways that no one can really predict, which is bad for business, and in ways that piss off our allies and will ultimately impact the American people. This is why his economic approval rating is in the toilet. So let's take a look here. Trump threatens EU with 50% tariffs, takes aim at Apple, Dow drops, dollar weakens, and bonds rally. Donald Trump launched new broadsides in his tariff campaign, threatening to impose a 50% rate on the European Union within days and warning Apple that foreign-made iPhones could face significant levies. The fresh threats are aimed at the core pillars of global commerce, one of the world's most valuable companies and one of the U.S.'s biggest trading partners. The initial market response reflected revived fears that the tariff policy could knock economic growth. And indeed, it could. And this is the thing. It's like, when will Trump not recognize that? When will he have, I don't know, some sort of reality check? It's absolutely stunning. As economist Justin Wolfers notes, the single most reliable economic fact of the Trump presidency is that when he raises tariffs, markets tank. When he backs off, they rise. This matters because markets are assessing the future profitability of American businesses, and any tariffs benefits are downstream of boosting profitability. And he quote tweets the very Wall Street Journal article that we just read an excerpt from. Again, other people note that Trump now seems to be threatening tariffs on a specific single product, the iPhone. As another Twitter user notes, a scary lawyer guy, threatening things that are patently illegal while also leaning deeply into mob boss vibes, and the media just shrugs at it like it's just another day ending in Y. Because unfortunately it is. This is part of the problem. I keep going back to it. We, as the American people, not every single one of us, but we collectively, including many liberals and independents, have started grading Trump on a curve, and we've done it for years. And it is stupid, it is irrational, it is dangerous in ways that could impact all of us because we get numb and desensitized to a ridiculous, deranged, stupid person who happens to be the most powerful man on earth. And that could have enormous negative implications for us and our loved ones and our neighbors and everybody else. And yeah, we have just become numb to it. That is a failure of the American people. I'm sorry, politicians, if I were running for office, I couldn't wag my finger at the American people, but I'm just a guy on YouTube and I'm not running for any office, so I can be real. Part of this is on us. Part of this is on Republicans, conservatives, lawmakers. Part of this is on Democrats, Democratic officials, independents, the apolitical people who are tuning out politics, the young, the old, all of us. We all share blame in this because our response to Trump, our outrage to Trump is not rational. It's not rationally calibrated to the level of threat he poses, right? We should be more outraged. We should be more vociferous in our condemnation from all corners, including, by the way, principled conservatives to the extent that any exist, which is why when you see a few pockets of principled conservatism, they are outraged about Donald Trump's stupidity, his corruption, his terrible economic and fiscal policy. The problem is, collectively, the Republican Party has become an authoritarian cult of personality, which is a problem because they're the ones in power and therefore the only meaningful check against him. Democrats are in the minority in the House and the Senate. And while we always want Democrats to play the hand they're dealt to the best of their ability, and they're obligated to, in my opinion, we have to be very clear. Even if Democrats played their hand to the best of their ability in the current condition, they still couldn't stop Trump because they don't have control of either the House, the Senate, or the Supreme Court. So still, the ultimate responsibility and the ultimate check would and should come from conservatives and Republicans in power. They're not going to do it because they're afraid of Trump. They fear Trump more than their constituents. And that's also the fault of their constituents. If you live in a Republican-led district or in a state with Republican senators, which I do, I live, North Carolina is a swing state, but I mean, we have 2 Republican senators. Tom Tillis will hopefully be kicked out in 2026 if we can convince former Democratic Governor Roy Cooper to run against him. But we have an obligation to make these people fear the political consequences of pissing off the voters and the constituents more than the political consequences of pissing off Trump. And right now, they're backing this or, offering just relatively muted criticisms because they fear him more than the voters. That's on the voters. The voters help create that situation. This is a real problem. It really is. And we can take nothing for granted in this current climate. As Chris Burry notes, this is the madness of a delusional despot in the Oval Office. His futures tanked before the markets opened this morning. I'm not sure where it ends. I really don't. Donald Trump could, reverse on this tomorrow, right? We could see a tweet later on today where he's praising Tim Cook because Tim Cook decided to buy $250 million of Trump's cryptocurrency, right? Which is something else that we need to discuss in a different video. I have no idea where this ends, and quite frankly, neither do you. But what we do know is that the American people will be the collateral in this, and the American people will be the ones to suffer as Donald Trump seeks to hoard more power and wealth unto himself, and that's a big fucking problem. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.